Let's shift focus to the war in Ukraine now, where just a day after pulling its troops out of Snake Island in the Black Sea, Russia has attacked
the rising cost of living is affecting all of us, but shoppers.
Hey everybody, welcome to this session. Thank you so much for joining. I think we have a great set of participants joining in today. Let's hope we have more people as we go. I would request everybody to be on mute to kind of avoid the resound. Awesome. I think we are good to go. Let's get started. Warm welcome to everybody again. This is Rohan. I'm one of the co-chair here at UMO.Design. And with me, I have Bapu Kaladar and Shyam Sundar as well. Bapu is the chairman for UMO.Design, currently joining in from New York. And we have Shyam, who's also the co-chair and is joining from California. So I think we are good to go. We're going to kind of take you through a bunch of super important information today. And I hope you all have a great session, and we'll also open up a majority of the time towards the end for Q&A. So feel free to keep dropping your questions in the chat, and we'll try to take it up during the Q&A session. And to begin with, I would request Kaladar Bapu to kind of get started with some introduction to the session, and we can proceed from there. Over to you, Bapu.
Yeah, thank you, Rohan. Welcome you all. Thank you so much for joining from different countries and different time zones. I'm Kaladar Bapu. We try to keep this video off so that the bandwidth will be better and you can actually get a better communication throughout, because we're going to share after 30 minutes of our discussion, we're going to keep this session for Q&A. So it'll be easy for all of us to communicate and discuss. Okay, as you see, guys, we already have 1,500 participants already registered from countries. I think, in fact, we couldn't count the rest of the countries, but we're going to add more countries are joining. So this contest is going to be one of the biggest contests in social innovation. You see the countries from Belgium, Thailand, Ukraine, Canada, Russia, Palestine, Nigeria, Philippines, Bangladesh, Georgia, Egypt, UAE, China, USA, Vietnam, Romania, France, Sri Lanka, Uganda, Brazil, and India. So if your country is missing out, and I'm sorry, because we're going to add more countries into this, and you can also message us if your country is missing out in the chat. You can message us. Okay, so this is our 10th annual design contest. So Design X Social is basically designing urgent problems by the communities. That's the intention we started, and we're successfully running this for almost like 10 years. And you also see that we have 250 mentors right now ready to help our teams to be successful for the next 3 weeks. So some of you, or majority of you, opted for a mentor. So mentors are from mostly like an experienced and MNCs who are working at different companies with a wide variety of projects they have done, because we have actually interviewed them and made sure that those mentors have got capability and leadership skills to take you through the problem identification and also solution. And as you now know that we have 2 screening sessions. The first screening is going to be offline jury. So then we shortlist 10 entries from each category. And then the second level jury is going to be live discussion. So you will be pitching your problem. And we have 9 awards to share with you guys. Okay, let's move to the who we are actually. When you say UMO, you guys have seen that some messages on website. UMO.Design Foundation is established almost like 2 decades back with the intention to bring awareness about design and educate and design education and design thinking and all. So that eventually it's actually, we established several different initiatives. Just one of them is Design Challenge. Also, we have multiple different conferences we support and we organize. And design education also we actually introduced. So if you see, we are spread across different continents and different locations through our volunteers, our core team members, also our design mentors, speakers, jury, several different contributors actually helping our community to grow. So I think out of 400 mentors, you must have seen 250 mentors are agreed to spend their time to work with this year conference. And we have very strong 80,000 community at different events they participate. So we also have partnerships with industry as well as educational institutes. Our goal is to educate and empower at least 1 million individuals with the design skills and confidence necessary to become successful by 2030. So this is a humongous task, and we've been successfully doing it with the help of people like you and a lot of our mentors and volunteers, speakers. So we thank all of them during this occasion. And what kind of initiatives if you see that UXINDIA, so now this is a global organization. I'm talking to you guys from New York, and another co-chair is going to talk after me. It's going to be talking from California, and some of them are participating from India. So from different countries, actually, our team is spread across, as I told you. And this is completely a volunteer organization. And every penny, even if we collect anything, that goes for the uplifting of this design community. So Women in Design is one of our biggest conferences we run. And of course, UXINDIA is the biggest in India and one of the top conferences in the world. So if you see carefully, we have created 6 buckets: experience, explore, expertise, execute, excel, and express. So express is a place where we actually have our community says, hey, I'm ready to volunteer for this conference or for this contest or for this event. So we actually invite them, and with the help of people, it's so far maybe 1 or 2 people who are on payrolls, but rest of the community, rest of the team, everyone is a volunteer. So that is express. Experience, we talk about conferencing. So you see 2 conferences we've been running. UXINDIA is going to happen in mostly November, because this year, as you guys know, that the pandemic actually hit in-person conferences. So last 2 years, we were actually remote conferences we did. This year, we're thinking that maybe it's good to go for in-person. And this is going to be 18th year conference. And Design X Social, right now we are talking about it, is 10th year annual annual design challenge. And UXIN is actually one of our initiatives. It now transformed to very interesting, wherein we actually design community curates people for the jobs. This actually initiative helps people getting job into corporates. And design school is something, Excel, we are trying to bring in design education as affordable as possible, and also 100% free for people who are deserved, who can't afford it. And this year, we are actually introducing UMO.X Lab, UMO Experience Lab, wherein the ideas what we are going to bring in through DesignX Social, and anything we can actually create social impact, which we would like to take this forward. Maybe we can create that as a social venture, so the lab actually can incubate and try to get venture capital fund for the ideas to see the light. That's what our vision for this year. Okay, so let's move on to the timelines. So today, your participant onboarding, 17th July, we welcome you. And by 23rd July, you have, in fact, like a week. Like basically, this runs for 3 weeks. Okay, so 1 week we spend time for problem identification, and another week we actually keep for solution submission. So interestingly, a lot of contests we say, hey, we know the theme and we can come up with a solution. But what we wanted to know is whether the problem you are identifying to solve, because we feel that problem identification is 70% is that's what very important. What's the problem you want to solve? The 30% is how do you solve it? That's easy. So what's the kind of impact it's going to create? So once you submit to that, and we will actually see if anything is not in line with what we are thinking, immediately we'll get back to you and say, hey, we need to think about something differently, or maybe this is the right direction. If not, we are not communicating back to you. That means you are in good line of thought, so they continue to work on solution. And on 13th August, you see that the first set of shortlisting happens. And then 27th, we actually have a live pitch. So that is going to happen on shortlisted entries. They do the live pitching. And we have award session on 28th. So in the overall, if you see this, this challenge has got a different way of making our participants ready for the future. So if you see that out of these 3 weeks of design thinking, one is how do you co-create? We are insisting that all of us, all the teams should be like a group. It's not like individuals. So minimum 3 people should be there in the group, and then maximum 5. So that actually helps to understand how do you work with the people. That's one important thing we wanted to inculcate in our participants. Second is how do you work with mentors? Mentors are very important, but some senior folks, you don't need mentors. That's fine because you already had education, design education, so that's fine. And also, if you look at carefully, like 4 categories, it is not just only for designers. It is for creative people like you, innovators. You don't have to have a formal design education. So, but to do the fair game, we actually created a separate category for non-designers. So again, we actually subcategorized as non-design students, non-design professionals, and other 2 categories, design students, design professionals. So these 4 different categories, the jury is going to be judged separately. So we're not clubbing together. So because definitely design professionals get the fair edge. So we don't want to be unfair with the rest of the categories. So each category has got its own awards and own way of judging. And telling a story, that is also very important, so that you will be mastering how to tell a story. So Shyam is going to talk about, we have came up with a template, and it actually tells you how to do that. So you will be learning it. And pitching to jury panel. So as an innovator, it's not just only creating your ideas, you also should know how to sell your idea, how to pitch. So it's going to be very interesting, like you'll get 7 minutes to pitch your idea. and 3 minutes question answer. So you have to be well prepared. And as you said, this actually can be like business viability, because the criteria we discuss is going to be discussed by Rohan. What is the criteria we look into when we are actually judging entries? So it should also be business viable, because social impact should also have a profit angle to that. So you should learn to pitch. That's also be part of this. And of course, winning awards. But as a theme, if you see, this theme is an urgent problem right now, whether it is Sri Lankan crisis or a Ukraine crisis. Right now, actually, you see two crises. Previously, we have a pandemic, right? So in any of these crises, how can we be as an opportunity to rebuild and heal the world with design? That is the idea. So as a design community, if you see, take an example from Japan or Singapore, how did they rebuild after so many crises? Japan is, like you see, bombs or tsunami, so many crises come, but they actually bounced back and they were very resilient. And can our design or innovation or creative community add ideas or add something which actually can be taken as examples for the other countries, communities, or people who can bounce back and be resilient and bring that equilibrium very quickly? So that's the idea. So we can actually discuss more into some ideas. I think we also have actually kept this in our theme. If you go to our DesignX social page, we actually have given some examples at a personal level, national level, global level. You can think about it. We can discuss on that in Q question answers. So now I think we had actually we had actually discussed about so for contest details and also how we participate. And if you see that this contest actually runs for 6 weeks long, and of course out of the 6 weeks, 3 weeks is for your purpose, like you will be working with mentors and preparing your problem submissions and then solution, submitting it. During this time, what we felt is we can actually meet every week, mostly every Saturday, not on Sunday, because this weekend, because we have actually had pouring of entries. Even now we're actually getting entries, though we said yesterday was the last date, we're still receiving entries. So to provide an opportunity for the people who registered last minute, so we kept this session on this Sunday, but otherwise we can actually keep the next week and coming weeks, all these 6 weekends on Saturdays. And we can also bring in some interesting keynote sessions. We can invite some top speakers from worldwide and ask them to talk about some subjects so that these sessions are not just only instructional and also educational. We can make them, and we can also make it as a networking and understand how to pitch, and also any questions on career counseling we can bring in, and any job opportunities that also we can discuss it. Okay, so we have actually some numbers here. So the numbers is actually, this is last year's, I think we had around 2 million people have witnessed our ideas, because we made it everything very transparent. All previous year contests, you can also find their presentation decks and videos they prepared. All of them actually 2 million people have actually viewed all those. Okay, and my last slide about working with mentors. This is, as I said, 80% of my teams have opted for mentors. 20% they said, no, we don't need, we can handle our own. So for the benefit of 80%. So the first thing is, don't expect mentors to solve your design. Mentors only can guide you. Of course, we had 2 mentor sessions, how to work with you. Now we are talking about how you work with mentors, how to work with mentors we are discussing right now. So they know about it. So we told them not to solve. Similarly, you should not expect them to solve. And most importantly, these mentors are working professionals. So some of you are students, some of you are professionals, non-design professionals, and you guys know that how important when you commit to time, you need to be on time. And you also have to respect their views and their ideas, like motivational talks. That sometimes some mentors actually go beyond than subject. They talk about as a team that they help you to build your team also. So respect them. For non-design students and design students who are not into the profession, so please learn. They are professionals. They are not your teachers. So you actually be formally book their time and be there on time, talk to them. And so plan it. Don't generally tell them, okay, can I come tomorrow? Or can I have a call with you in the next 30 minutes? Okay, if you already developed a rapport, that's a different issue. So you guys can collaboratively do it. And people, the mentors, remember, this is also a very important thing. So we have teams from different countries. Similarly, mentors are also from different countries. There could be a time zone difference. Be aware of that. And also cultural differences. So we are all a global community. So respect each other's time zones and timings, and also cultural differences. So the tools, most of you are aware that there are some Mural, InVision, Figma. If you use those tools, it's easy. All of you can come to one place and then discuss and then collaborate. And we said at least minimum 2 hours you can spend. But as I said, if your mentor is willing to spend more time, definitely take as much time as possible if needed. And you will be learning a lot of more than what the contest is, because we are applying design thinking process, which is identified by IDEO. So we also actually kept those basic cores as a reference if you don't have access. So we're going to post it in the chat, the link. You register and then use the code DXS to 2022. So you get 100% free access to that. So you will be keep looking back, so that we will be keep updating. Even this session will be recorded and updated in that, in case any of your colleagues missing, so they can go back and refer this video. Of course, anytime you can always ask questions, and then you can send messages. We'll be there. The team always will be helpful, and make sure that you'll get answer. And another important thing is, you can also share a feedback about the mentors you're working with, because we have an award for them. So if your mentor is really helpful, but as I said, helpful doesn't mean that he'll be part of your team and solving the problem with you, solutions and all. He's helping you, guide you, so that you are actually getting into the next level. Okay, so mostly we'll be assigning the mentors tomorrow, and you will be receiving emails tomorrow. Okay, so thank you guys. And one more, I think my team is asking me to explain about these benefits apart from the awards. And we also thank our partners, Unstop, Happening, UXIN, and UMO.Design School. So these are some of those benefits you guys receive. All the winners will actually have a free UX design course, which is around $2,000 worth. That's one thing. And all the people who are interested in doing internships, students or design, non-design students, which are actually like, at least you should get into shortlisted entries. So they will get an opportunity to intern with Happening Design Studios, which is from New York and India. So that is one studio you can actually get opportunities to get also in jobs. If the team thinks that you can be part of their team, that'll be great. And not just only Happening Design Studio, we have other partners who are like, I think around 50 companies who work with the UXIN initiative. So you will be guided to those companies for job opportunities. Okay, and all those people who have been participating, they will be receiving around like 70% discount on the design courses offered by UMO Design School. And UXINDIA 18th annual conference, you will be getting highly discounted. That means it's like maybe 20-30% of fee. That's what you'll be paying. But the most important thing I want to inform here is all the winners are going to present at this conference for free. That's actually, it's a very reputed conference. So that's a great opportunity for the winners to present their, presentations about this Design Social, or whatever the problem and solution they came up with. They will be getting a chance to present at this conference. Fine, guys. So I'm actually handing over to Rohan, who will be talking about maybe in more detail about the conference, Design Social contest. And I'll be back to answer your questions at the end of the sessions. Thank you.
Thanks, Bapu. Let me share my screen. I hope my screen is visible. Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
so,
visible.
So everybody, I think we've all kind of seen this website, and I'm sure a lot of you have applied to either be a participant or mentor so far. So I won't really get into a lot of details or take a lot of time here, but I just want to make sure I cover some very important points that will concern you regarding the Design Social Innovation Challenge. So to begin with, I think it's important to understand the theme, which is designing for crisis, and it's important to come up with ideas that kind of intervene to this kind of crisis that we are at, be it the pandemic or be it the economic crises or the political crises that are being faced by many nations. And also important to understand how many companies or nations or individuals have actually been resilient to these crises and have always bounced back so far, as history has shown us, right? So it's important to understand this aspect and really understand what is the theme here. And it is also super important to make sure that your solution that you are coming up with has some relation or some solution that is being offered for this theme. To talk a little bit more about the different levels at which we could bring in change, like DesignX is primarily a global innovation challenge that is aiming at creating some impact to make the world a better place. And the social impact that we create through this competition or through you as individuals is what matters the most, right? And we feel that it can be delivered at these three levels. A personal level, influencing people to bring in some positive change in behavior, or at a national level where we can think at making the country more organized at a larger scale, or educating the people of the nation, or coming up with interesting ideas in terms of policies for the government and so on. And obviously at a global level, there's a lot to talk about and a lot to do, a lot of factors to consider to come up with solutions at a global level. So just some ideas or different ways in which you guys could all get involved and create some really interesting impact. In terms of categories of people that you would find in this competition, number one is obviously design schools, where we have a lot of students from across the globe studying or just graduated from design schools being a part of this competition. We also have people from other institutes and high schools even sometimes coming into this competition with some unique ideas. And we also have business and enterprises, and then professionals and citizens. So professionals and citizens is a category for anybody really to just be a part of this initiative and just share their ideas and share their thoughts. And these categories are predominantly defined to be able to recognize each of your work that you've done in each of these segments. In terms of awards, we have about 9 awards, 4 for the best design category across each category, similarly with special jury, and the last one is People Choice Award. So what happens there is once you all submit your final video, which also I'm going to talk about, is going to be published online, and we are going to evaluate what is the team or what is the person that has actually gathered the most number of unique views, and that particular team will be awarded with the People's Choice Award. In terms of evaluation criteria, we're going to have a great set of people, a jury of close to 50 members evaluating each of your entries that you submitted. And these are going to be design leaders, business leaders from across the globe who will be looking at your submission and evaluating it against a certain criteria. So it's important to identify the right problem. And that's one of the reasons why we also have it as a bigger milestone in the entire process. The second thing is how innovative it is, how simple in terms of process. Are you following the right process? Did you kind of go through a certain steps before you reach the final solution? What is the impact that you're creating on the society? How sustainable your solution is? Is it good for the people that you're designing for? Is it good for the target audience? Is it good for the planet, and so on? And then obviously the practicality and business viability. How can your solution that you're actually thinking of is viable enough to execute and be successful? And then again, the video that I spoke about is going to be less than 3 minutes that actually captures your entire process or your entire solution that you've come up with. These are going to be some of the factors through which we're going to evaluate. And I think in terms of what you get other than the awards, it's also important to understand that we're all here for the social impact and the ideas that you come up with. So there will be a lot of recognition, and there will be a lot of awards and a lot of love that you get from the people. You will also be learning a lot from the mentors, especially if you've opted for a mentor. They're going to take you through essentially a design thinking course over the period of the next 2 to 3 weeks, where you'll be starting from identifying the problem to coming up with a prototype and then also pitching it to your jury. So you're going to have some great guidance from your mentors all throughout this journey. And I think that's in itself a great masterclass in design thinking. And other than that, as Bapu has mentioned in his previous message, you will be getting a great discounted entry to the conference and access to a lot of courses, and also a lot of access through UMO to the industry if you're looking for a change in job, or if you're looking for internships or whatever it is. In terms of the process, we've officially closed the registrations, but there is usually a last minute hush that we receive, and we're kind of just keeping it open for today to get some more an opportunity for teams to still register. And 23rd July, that's your first milestone or your first deadline to identify and share your problem that you've solved. The next step is your 6th August, which is where you will be talking about your solution. And after me, we will have Shyam, who's going to take you through this entire deck and talk to you about how you would submit and what is the process to submit and so on. So after 6th August is the time when we announce the shortlisted candidates. And once we announce the shortlisted candidates, you will still have a week to kind of get your deck updated or make it more presentable, take some feedback, incorporate it, and present it to the jury to pitch your solution. and you'll have about 10 minutes per person, 7 minutes for your presenting your idea, and 3 minutes for Q&A. And then 28th August is when we will be announcing the winners and the awards will be given. Yeah, that's a bit about the entire challenge. You have the website to actually go back to and refer to. And also, I want to just bring up one point that we are giving access to this design thinking course. I will be dropping the link and the coupon code in the chat, and you get to access all the recordings and all the necessary material that you would need to kind of go through this competition and for your mentors to actually refer to. And you'll also see some of the previous discussions that we had with the mentors here, if you want to take a look at, but that's largely for mentors. And you have a ton of resources for you to check out and learn more from. The template that you also would need is available here, which Shyam is also going to talk about. And yeah, I will just share the link in the chat for you all to access. And with that, I will just open it to Shyam to take you all through the deck.
All right, thanks, Rohan. Let me share my screen. By the way, can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
Cool, thanks. Hey guys, this is Shyam here. As Bob and Rohan both have mentioned, I've been associated with UXINDIA UMO for a long time, and it's quite exciting to see so much participation, and then and all the excitement around going ahead and then solving the problems that we are facing today, right? So, so like always, if there are any participants who have participated before, so the task that we are after is very similar. I mean, in terms of how we go about doing this and stuff like that, right? So now that you've understood the context, right? So what exactly we are trying to do with this, and then know that you also understood the mindset and the reason why we are coming together as a global team here. With that, I would like to give you a brief walkthrough of what does it take for you to get there, right? So from the point when you have registered, and then now that you're going to go through this process and then meet your first milestone, and then subsequently meet the second and the final milestone, how to take the journey. So here is a brief template, which, for lack of a better word, you could call it as a workbook that you can use to capture your thoughts, and it ensures that you adhere to the evaluation criteria. So it kind of carefully walks you through, or gives you a good hand and good guidance in becoming successful teams, right? So at the end of it, so as we jump into this, so there are very few high-level basic instructions. I know that by now. So when we created this deck, there were a few teams who were not that familiar with Google Drive and all that stuff, because we're also talking about participants who are non-mainstream, who are non-designers, and there could be other participants who could be coming in from any walk of life, right? So we do have a category called professionals and citizens, and not every one of them might be having Google account per se. So all in all I'm trying to say is, in order for you to access this tech, you just need to have a Google account. In case if you don't have it, you could always download it and then save it as a Microsoft PowerPoint and then start to use it, right? So even otherwise, for a lot of users with Google account, all we request you to do is make a copy of this and then start to use it as your own personal workbook. And once you do that, the way it is structured is, obviously it has this title slide, cover slide, which you can customize based on your theme, and name your project the way you used to do in case if you have participated last year or any time in the past. But all this slide is going to capture is your project name and a nice representative image of the theme or the problem that you're trying to solve here, right? And after that, the most important thing is the team itself. So we know that there are lots of teams that are going to participate based on the participation numbers that we have seen. And in case if you have a mentor on your team, feel free to go ahead and then add your mentor, so that gives your mentors due credits. and it's really important to acknowledge your mentor, right? So as a part of this, and that brings us to the core, as Bapu mentioned, right? So solving something is good, but more than solving things, what's really important is identifying the problem. So as designers, as we all know that we are empathetic to a lot of situations, and then thus the phase we are in now, the stage that we are in now as a global community, we are experiencing a lot of crises around us, right? So again, not to repeat what has been told, this is the slide for you to capture your problem, right? So you can take any examples. Examples could include the things that we are saying day in and day out: war situation, Sri Lankan crisis, geopolitical crisis all around. And then we see that there are lots of people who are participating from a whole lot of countries, right? So if you could relate to any other crisis as well, I mean, we would, of course, obviously want you to focus on this main crisis things. But at the same time, in case if you see there are other crises like natural disasters that are happening around you, so feel free to go ahead and then focus on that problem as well, right? So so all we are trying to do is we are just trying to make it open. Any crisis that you feel empathetic towards, and then you see that there is something in there that I can solve, I can relate to it, this has to be solved, right? So go ahead and then focus on that situation, and within that we ask you to narrow down to focus on a specific problem within that, right? So problem could be, it could stem from an individual, or it could stem from a family that is going through crises, or issues that could be related to healthcare, finance, day-to-day resources, access to amenities, basic amenities, and stuff like that, right? So any of those things, right? So narrow down and focus on a specific thing. And the best way to focus on the target persona, right? So again, as I mentioned, a specific individual who is going through some severe crisis in his own life because of all these things that are happening around him, right? So identify that story, identify interesting stories around your target groups, an individual, a family, or a society, any of these levels. As Rohan mentioned, you could position this problem at any of these levels, right? So identify that, and once it happens, you could sort them into two categories. In case if you are someone who can think of bringing changes at the highest level, you could start from the top down as well, right? So highest level could be I'm seeing all these issues, but then is there any potential root cause to it? Can I solve this problem at the core? What is the core? Core could be all this is happening because the way infrastructure is set up in our town or in our city is probably not working fine. And this infrastructure could be to do with anything. Again, healthcare, finance, whatever it is. And then it can go all the way up to national level or even international level in terms of informing policies to a forum like UNESCO or NATO or whatever, right? So you could categorize you could focus the thing and then try to solve it in any of these levels, and all the way down to we see most of the problems being positioned at personal level, right? So what it could make you think of is, can I reimagine a life operating system? If you think of the war situation, there are a lot of resilient people in Ukraine. They have taken the situation in their hands, right? In their hands, and then I'm going through this crisis, but then there are a lot of people who are migrating away from country, but there are a whole lot of people who are still there in the country, and they are making sure that by giving support to the government, they're also living life there. How are they doing it? How are they being so resilient? How are they able to fund themselves when things around them are crumbling, right? So is there anything that we could do as designers to help them at a personal level to ensure that all the key factors like be it healthcare or finance or education or even security, personal security, emotional security, right? All these things are taken care of. During pandemic, we focused a lot on mental health. Mental health also could be another factor, right? So can design help them with with getting mentally strong and then become resilient and then do the things that they could do to support their governments, societies, families, right? So you could position at these two levels as in personal reimagining the life operating system. And again, it is an opportunity for us to either design things from scratch and then create a new utopian world, if we can dream of that, because as designers, we always dream of the best thing, and then that's our responsibility, right? So that's one thing. Or you could also redesign government systems and policies at the highest level, which will influence and inform a much wider canvas. So that's the main part, right? So identifying the problem. Once you do that, then with that mindset, you'll start to capture why it is an urgent problem, why it is important, and then everything flows from there, right? So, and also as a part of that, since you've already focused on what is the persona that I want to target, right? Capture the persona. In case if it is a community, then you will probably identify one or two archetypes. I guess we all understand archetypes, and then if we don't understand archetypes, we can ask our mentors. Again, it's always going to depend on who is the target that we are going to focus on. If it is an individual, feel free to capture individual personas, one or two. If your problem is positioned at a society level, you can capture archetypes. Right? So, and once you do this, then comes the stage 1 submission, which is targeted on July 23rd, as Rohan mentioned. So that's when you will complete this deck until this stage, right? Problem identified, why it is an urgent problem, and capture your user personas. Once that is done, you're ready to submit it. Once it is submitted, as Babu mentioned, at the time, once we do the reviews of all these submissions, if you think things are looking in good shape, you can continue to go to the next step. But then, in case if there is anything that we think can be improved, then expect us to provide some feedback. So only those people who will get feedback would need to improvise. Otherwise, the rest of the teams who might not receive any feedback, it is safe to assume that they can go to the next step. And the next step is once you identify the problem, once you feel confident about it, then you start to explore solutions and ideas, right? So, so 70% of the effort goes into problem identification, and then everything else will follow. So, explore your ideas and then capture and describe one or two alternative solutions here, which you might have considered, and then capture the final solution here, right? So, and when you do that, it's really important to understand how does this solution address the problem identified? Why is this the right solution, and how exactly it is innovative in that sense? And on the right side, as you're saying, it is guiding you to capture the representative images at every stage. And once you do that, here comes the most common part of what we do, as in, yes, you did define your solution, but then how is the solution going to be experienced, right? So the actual user experience of the solution for the problem that you have identified. So here, we expect you to capture it. You could bring in your workflows, you could bring in your screenshots that supplement the story that you're trying to tell, right? So that supplement the problem that you have solved, and then how that experience pans out is what gets captured here. And also you will throw in a link to video. Video is the most important artifact that we expect you to submit. That's where all these things come together. And then as a part of that, you will also capture what exactly is the process that you followed, because it's always important to show what happened behind the scenes. So we capture the process here. And the other important criteria that we mentioned, right? So all the thinking that you have done so far, why is it important, as we mentioned, and then what exactly is the impact to the society, right? So that, and how is your solution sustainable? Because at the end of it, we are not designing for one time, or this crisis happened today, but then there is no guarantee that it might not happen next time, right? So how is the solution? How is it endurable, right? So also can it hold for long? All these questions get answered, and then that's what is expected as a part of that. And then at the end of it, it also has to be practical, business viable. So we encourage you to strongly think about, how can I build this solution? What exactly is it going to be? So if you're going to define a change to certain infrastructure, or a change to a policy or even a change to an individual, the way he conducts his business, or at a society level, if your solution informs healthcare, how is it practical, right? And how is it viable? So do think about that, and then ensure that it gets captured as a part of this. And once that is done, by the end of it, you would have completed all the steps. You would have also completed and adhered to all the key evaluation criteria. So that's the goal of this document. It guides you through each and every stage in the process. It ensures that you meet the criteria and capture everything that is required to complete the project, not just complete the project, and also to become successful towards the end of it. So that's in essence what this deck is all about. And again, at the end of it, in terms of submissions, final submissions on 6th August, you're going to submit the presentation deck, this exact same deck. You can take this and copy it and then customize it, tweak it a little bit, and feel free to add your own flair to it, but don't get too overboard, because the main important point is to follow the structure, to follow each and every stage in the process, and then so that's one thing. So deck is one thing, and then video is the most important thing, and then you fill in the submission form, which is there in here, and that's about it. Yeah, with that, we can open this forum to questions, any questions that we can clarify as a team, stuff like that. Back to Rohan.
We have quite a few questions going on in the chat that are already been answered, but please keep dropping your questions in the chat and we'll try to answer them now. Let me scroll to the top and see if we have anything that has been unanswered so far. Okay, so I have a question from Shweta. Bapu, maybe this is for you. Bapu, are you there?
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Okay, great. So
what's the question?
One of the team members are both designers and non-design students. So which category do they fit into?
So 2 of them are non-designers, you said, right?
Yeah, it has a mix of both design students and non-design students.
Yeah, so that means they have advantage of design students, so they should be part of design students category.
Okay, I think that answers that. And yeah, I think the link for the course has been shared in the group, so you guys can pick it up. I also have a question that says, can the presentations be customized completely?
Yeah, Shyam, go ahead.
Yes, as I mentioned, yes, you can tweak it. You can personalize it to your team's theme, but at the end of it, the content structure has to stay as it is. So what I mean to say is all the steps that are defined in the deck, please make sure that you don't break that flow. You don't deviate anything from those aspects of the structure, right? So as long as you do that, I think you should be good. Is that right, Bob? Or anything else you want to add?
That sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah, so without losing the sense, because when we are actually publishing it, it should not look like it's coming from some other place. So everyone should have some consistency. So you can use the guidelines, but maybe presentation, visuals, all those things you can change.
Okay. Is the submission system up now for participation? So if somebody's already finished, I'm guessing their first stage submission, can they go ahead and submit it?
So you mean problem submission you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm guessing so.
Okay, so I'm sure Shyam must have explained that how to submit that. So the presentation deck, I think you have seen, right? That is a template. You're making a copy of that and changing your, details and and actually share that. Make it like anybody can access. That's Google allows you to do that, right? With the link, anybody can access, and share it with us in team at UMO.Design. Okay, the link, just link. You don't have to share anybody in the sharing, but create the link that anybody can see what you have done, and share that Google link with team at UMO.Design. So yeah, you can do that. The advantage of keeping this is like for 2 weeks problem, because you'll also be doing maybe secondary or primary research both. So you'll also be identifying a bit about the users target who are looking at. So it's not just a problem statement. You also take the advantage of doing the research phase also. So basically I'm talking about a discovery and define both together. You can actually share with us.
I guess what Bob is also saying is if you already completed stage 1, if you think that was the question, right? So you can go ahead and then submit it.
Yes.
But
you can go and submit.
Yeah, you still have time. So the recommendation here is just make sure that you spent enough time in discovery and definition. Yeah, that's the recommendation. I mean, we still have time, no rush, right? So even if you think that you have completed it, I mean, if you are sure that you did everything that you could do, then you can go ahead and submit it.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question, do we use a coupon for any course? No, that coupon is only for the Design Thinking 101 course. It's only for the DXS 22 participants. And the internships, I think it's a part of the same question that we'll reach out to you at the shortlisting phase or during the awards phase. We will have all your details, and Team UMO will reach out to you for any specific internship opportunities if you're interested. Yes, the PPT is available in the course. So you go to the link, log in with your email ID, put in the coupon code, and you will see the course called Design Thinking 101, and you will be able to access all the information there. We have one more question from Keshav. Will we be filling the same deck for both the problem and solution submission?
Yes, you will essentially be using the same deck. Again, as I mentioned, it's a work in progress deck. So for stage 1, you are expected to complete the problem definition phase. And once that is submitted, you will continue to work on the solution phase. So it's the same deck.
Yeah, if you see in the deck, you will find that there is a certain number of slides for stage 1, and then the rest of it is for stage 2. So maybe if you take a closer look at the entire deck, you should be able to clearly differentiate. Dhruv asks, can we get the link for the previous year presentation decks? Yes, the link is already shared. DXS 21, you have all the shortlisted and the finalists up on the website. You'll be able to take a look at their deck, who they are, and you'll also be able to take a look at the videos that they've shared. And if you go to YouTube, also you'll find the same playlist, DXS 21, with all the videos lined up for you to check out. We have one more question from Ishna. When will we get our mentors? Yeah, they will be assigned either tomorrow or day after, and you will get an email regarding the same. And from Lena Lee, could you explain more about the 2 submission categories in depth and what qualifies as an urgent crisis? Shyam, would you?
All right. Yeah, sure. So what qualifies an urgent crisis is, of course, we have been thinking about the things that are going on around us, right? So the examples that were taken is Ukraine crisis, Sri Lankan crisis, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to just focus on those 2 things. But because at the end of it, as designers, we see so many things around us, so many problems, so many situations and all those things, right? So if you happen to be from a location or from a country or from a culture where you're saying a different problem, you can also feel free to pick up that, but then it should come from you, as in, this to me is an urgent crisis, because if I solve this problem, the impact is going to be this much. The impact is going to be this much, and then right now, this problem is causing so much pain and trouble, right? It has to be solved now. So it's all in the articulation, and if you feel empathetic about it, that's exactly what we believe. It will come out naturally. Do we want to collect data around it? If you can provide stats around it, great. So feel free to do anything that you can do to help us understand why you think this is an urgent crisis, right? So hopefully that answers the question. And
Yes,
there's
I
another
think
part to the
that
question,
does.
Rohan. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Is that
they
the only
also
part of the
want
question?
to know about the 2 submission categories. I think that's the problem and the solution, which I think Lean is referring to.
Okay. 2 submission stages, right? So yeah, stage 1, as we have been discussing, is about the problem that you identified, and stage 2 is where you submit everything together, including a problem, and then the design solution that you come up with, including the video. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the deck, it's clearly outlined what are the different things that need to go in stage 1 and what needs to go in stage 2. So that is what is expected.
Yeah.
Next question from Devanshi. We didn't opt for a mentor while signing up, but can we get one now? We've just about to close registrations, but you can just drop us an email with the name of your team that you submitted and the participants, and we'll try to assign one for you. You can email us at team@UMO.Design, Devanshi. Can we get the recorded version of this session? Yes, this video will be available sometime next week on the course, so you can check it out there. Mira Lafir, I submitted as the wrong category initially. Yeah, you can email us. We'll try to change that category if it's right. Abraham, the pitching is not live. The pitching is live. The video just captures your solution, but you will be getting 10 minutes to kind of pitch your solution to the jury. That is only for shortlisted candidates. To shortlist, there is no pitching involved. Okay, can we change our category? Yes, you can. Just email us and we'll make that change for you. But mention your team details and your team members so that it becomes easy for us to identify who you are. From Archis, in the first email submission problem identification, what all is expected in terms of research? Secondary, primary? Sham, do you want to take that?
Say it again. I'm sorry. So what exactly?
First phase submission, the problem identification part, what is all expected in terms of research?
So it always goes with any discovery phase, right? So that's where we are trying to discover, and then you are expected to come with primary research over there, wherein you are whatever you are doing there, right? I mean, we only have limited time. You might, if you have access to users and come up with certain validation for the formative thoughts that you might have, right? So, hey, by the way, I want to focus on this crisis. I want to focus on these use cases. I do have access to these people. In the past, we also had examples wherein some successful examples, they were based on true stories. So some teams have focused on the problems a senior couple were facing through pandemic in their apartment complex, right? So they went and spoke to this couple, understood their issues in and out, and captured that, right? If that helps, I think for phase 1, primary should be good enough. For phase 2, if you want to validate your designs, feel free to go ahead and then do it. Because at the end of it, design process, the way we all follow the way we are all all familiar with, I think it's good to capture that, right? So yeah, so primary and secondary, but split between these two phases is a good recommendation.
Absolutely. I think that answers. When will we get access to the DEX link? As soon as you sign into the course link that we shared, Keshav, you will be able to see the link to the deck and the previous recordings and everything else, basically. So just sign in to the course and you will have access to everything. Sandelia, can you share presentation? Yeah, it's already there in the course. You can, we can get access to that using the course. Can we take our mentor's help for finalizing our crisis problem? Yes, you can. Once the mentors are assigned, you should definitely use their help to get some feedback from them, whether your problem is right or wrong, or if you're going in the right direction. Akshata, could you please share some prototypes for non-design students, and we would like to get an idea? Okay, so the prototype will depend on the solution. So there are plenty of solutions that the students have or the participants have shared last year. So maybe that's a good place to check out to get an idea of what are the different ways you can actually present your solution as a prototype. But prototype can essentially be something which is like a concept or that actually shows or showcases what your solution is. Where can we get the deck link? Let me also share the link in the chat for you all to check out, maybe, if that helps. But otherwise, it's on the course. Can I add more members to the team now? Yeah, maybe you can just email us, and we will, with the other person's detail, and we will be able to add them. But there is a maximum team size of 5 people, and the minimum is 3. So as long as that is met, we are happy to accommodate. I think there are just a lot of questions about the link, so we will be sharing that deck with all of you as quickly as possible right now. And again, like I said, it's also up on the course. So are we supposed to design policy or products for the problem? So it could be a policy or product based on what is the solution that you are recommending, or that is a solution that you're coming up with that addresses the problem. From Bradley Warren, I'm transitioning into UX design following some great projects I have worked with, and this course offers opportunity into jobs and career counseling. Do you have any further information? Bradley, yes, we do. You can reach out to us, and we will kind of try to do what we can to help you out with this. But the career counseling and all, it's usually you can, if you're looking to learn more about design, then your mentor would be a great resource for you to get in touch with and learn more about. And then with regards to any job opportunities, you can email us, and you can kind of just follow us on social media. We do keep frequently sharing a lot of posts about open job positions and so on. Where can we check the last year's project? The link was already shared, Zelia, in the chat previously. You can just check that, or it's available on the UMO.Design website. Yeah, it's again, the link for the last year's submission is available on the UMO.Design website. You can check it out. I think it's UMO.Design/explore. Can we showcase various artifacts which supports problems or solution, or is there any limitation on slide numbers? Sham, do you want to take that?
No limitation as such, but then it will be good to carefully think about how much you want to show, so that you are conveying the essence of your solution as well, right? Because when it comes to problem definition, I think it has to be succinct. Again, it goes back to the question that someone asked, like, about primary research and secondary, right? So when you are thinking about a problem, if you are going to do the research on your own, then it'll be good to capture it in as crisp a way as possible with quant data and qualitative data if you can get. But if you're going to rely on secondary research, what you're saying is people pull data from newspapers, articles, videos from other people, or even videos that capture the problems that people have been facing in let's say Ukraine, because you could be someone in India or some other country, but then you are seeing a lot of videos day in and day out, and you're trying to create a story out of that. You could do that too, but with all these things, just to keep things crisp, it's encouraged to be how should I say? Yeah, so just keep it limited, and the only place where you can add more is in the solution space, right? So if it needs five screens or 6 screens or whatever it is, but then let's not go overboard, because at the end of it, it's really important to carefully select whatever you want to package in your video, because at the end of it, all these things. So most of the teams, what they also do is they use the same slide deck. Either they do a walkthrough and then record it in the form of video, or they go creative and then come up with a completely different content for the video, but then they use these artifacts as a part of the video to tell the story, right? So no matter what it is, this template is there just to give you basic guidance, and then make sure that all the entries look consistent. But yeah, so the only places where you might need to add more slides is one is persona slide. You could have 1 or 2 personas, or maybe 3 personas at the max. And when it comes to capturing your UX mockups and artifacts, so that's where you might add multiple slides to it, 4 or 5, or yeah. So yeah, so be careful about that. I mean, because at the end of it, you don't want to use too many, and then if it's not doing the needful, then it will lose their sense, right? So
yeah, absolutely. Just make a good presentation, basically, that captures everything.
Yeah.
Cool.
All tough questions, by the way. All tough and interesting questions.
Yeah, I think we're above our time limit, but I just want to make sure we answer all these questions. But yeah, feel free to reach out to team at UMO anytime, and we'll try to answer more. But the next 5 minutes, I'll just try to see if we can answer some more questions. We have Shubham. Can we support? Okay, I think we just answered that. Lena Lee, do design solutions have to impact personal, national, and global levels? Interesting question. Shyam, do you want to take that?
I'm thinking about it. Can you rephrase that question 1 second?
Do design solutions have to impact personal, national, and global levels? I think do you have to impact all the 3 is the question.
Not all the 3. Again, just to reiterate, you can just focus on one of these.
Yeah. Yeah, I think whatever your problem that you identified based on who the target audience is, I think your solution will automatically fall into one of those categories. It's just a way for us to kind of express the way of the problem or the solution, but it's not a limitation or anything as such. So feel free to explore.
Yeah, it's not mandatory, but then in case if a story can impact at a personal level, but then it can be extended all the way to national level and global level.
Yeah,
you can narrate that aspect as well as a part of the story. No stopping there.
Absolutely. I think the social impact that your solution would create is one of the primary evaluation criteria. So absolutely, I think it requires enough thought, as much thought as possible. One more question from Bradley. I have a great team here, but we have only formed today. So would be put at a disadvantage if we use secondary research due to a short window. But in the second phase, we were using a mix. Would that be fine? So officially, the competition or the challenge starts today, Bradley. So everybody, I think, has a fair shot at the a stage 1 submission, and it's not designed in a way that if somebody has joined at a later point, they would be at a disadvantage. So I think it's all about using the time effectively and trying to do the best you can that validates your problem that you're actually submitting. So it's not about just doing the research, but it's about how your research can actually validate the problem that you've shared with us. So I think the point is to just use your time effectively, and I'm sure you'll be able to give it a great shot. From Dhruv, can we change the theme of the deck to match our solution style? Yes, you can change the design or the layout to whatever style you want to. But as Shyam was just mentioning, the content structure or the essence of the deck has to be there throughout. It just helps us in evaluation, and it helps a jury to ensure all the criteria are checked, and they'll evaluate your deck against each criteria. One more question from Lena Lee. Could you explain more about what Reimagine Life operating system means?
Good question. So we are talking about solutions that we can come up with that are going to stay, right? Because at the end of it, as designers, we want to create sustainable solutions. And then even if you pick something as small as a certain family in Ukraine is going through financial crisis, or a certain family in Sri Lanka is also going through day-to-day basic commodity crisis, right? So can we come up with solutions that addresses these problems at a personal level or even at a society level? And in doing so, we would create, at least, right? So there is clearly an opportunity to do two things. One is healing their wounds is obviously one thing, but then helping them look forward to life, right? So in doing so, these solutions can become operating systems. And then, so if you're solving something in healthcare, it can potentially address any healthcare related issues for these kind of families in such a situation, right? So operating system, the word, it is used because the solutions can become sustainable. They are going to stay for long. They will hopefully stand the test of time for any of these crises. Makes sense.
And I think
so.
Lena has gone through the website very carefully. So that really helps. Good, great question, Lena. I think we have, maybe I'll just take a couple of more questions and then we'll put an end to this session. We have to design a digital product, app, website, or a physical 3D model product. No, there is no limitation on what your solution has to be. Whatever your idea or your concept is, the solution can be defined that way, but make sure that your solution is actually clearly defined and it's actually conveying the point through your prototype. Can we take a problem that solves similar issues in 2 or more countries? Yes, absolutely. It's not, you don't have to be limited to one country or so. In the website or in any of our previous sessions, we are only taking an example so that you relate to whatever that is going on in the world. But it is up to you on who your target audience is. You can define who they are basically. Should one take a crisis already manifest or a looming crisis? Dr. S. Kumar, I think if it's still a crisis, then it's okay if it's already in motion or which has already been done, or if you think that crisis is bound to happen again or could happen again. If as long as it qualifies as a crisis that is an important problem for everybody to solve, definitely it should be considered. Awesome. I think some really great questions. I'm really happy that we took some extra minutes to cover all of this, but thank you so much, everybody. I think we are already 20 minutes beyond our time, but great questions and a great session. This recording will be available through the course. You have the link and the coupon. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach us out at team@UMO.Design, and we will be quick to answer all your questions. Thank you, everybody. A great kickoff session, and I hope you all have a great time and a great experience during these next couple of weeks. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Bapu and Sham.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.